Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second installment of the Sisters Sanditon. Tonight, we're going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of Sanditon, Season 2, Episode 1.
Yes, we are so happy that this day has finally come.
Yes.
Because we didn't know if we would get our Season 2 for so long.
It's been a long time in coming, hasn't it?
Yes, and now we've seen it.
Keep in mind, we've only seen Episode 1.
Yes, we have not gone ahead. Some people have been able to see Episode 2 already, but we have not gone ahead and watched because we really wanted to take a little bit of time and just digest digest Episode 1
yes,
to start.
And get Episode 1 down,
yes.
Get our review done before we move on to
yes.
Episode 2. Correct.
Yes.
All right, well, let us start out with this distasteful subject. Theo is dead.
To quote Dickens,
Dead
as a doornail. Yes, you knew what I was going to say.
Yes,
there can be no doubt about it,
That's right.
as they say in the Christmas Carol.
Correct.
He is dead, and I think it was a very somber beginning, right, starting off immediately with a coffin, but it really was the most tasteful way to do it, I believe, because it will squelch any hopes that he may come back and he may return sometime in the future. A surprise ending, season 3.
As we have been told, he is not coming back.
No.
So don't expect a appearance in Episode 3.
Theo
last
or
episode,
Sydney.
Season 3 or the last episode or whatever.
Yes.
Don't expect it.
He shall not return.
Theo's gone, Sydney's gone.
We have laid to rest that theory, so to speak.
Yes, we saw the wooden box.
Yes.
Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, it was just a box and we only saw the blood, but
For pity's sake, it's
we've
Jane
been
Austen.
told.
We don't want to see a dead body in a shroud.
Correct.
He's gone.
Whether
it was done.
Whether we like it or not,
Yes.
which need I say, we are not happy about it.
No, and as soon as I saw it, I said, it's Sydney. And I got really sad and I teared up because I knew it was him.
Right.
I knew we had already discussed. There's documentation on one of
Say
our
that
other
right
videos.
There. Go back and watch one of our videos where we predicted they would kill him off first thing.
That's really the only way to have it. Because
the only way.
If he was alive, she'd be thinking perhaps in case Eliza died, he could come back to her, or any way for them to be together.
We'd all be thinking.
Yes,
he's going to make an appearance. He's going to show up at the altar. He's going to do something, right?
Yes, wishing and wondering.
All right. So, what were your initial impressions of
Season 2?
Yes.
Well, I liked it very much. I thought, and this could be because there's only 6 episodes. I thought everything moved pretty quickly. I was surprised, but I feel like they laid out all of the matches, like, right away. Who's going to like who? Pretty obvious already.
Yes.
And there was no surprises at the beginning.
It feels a little predictable. But of course, as you mentioned before, Jane Austen is always predictable, right? Yes. But it does feel a little bit, like in my mind, I could be wrong, but I already think she's going to end up with,
Are you making a prediction?
With the gentleman.
Yes.
What's his name?
Colburn.
I think she's going to end up with him. Just from the way
Rochester figure.
Only seen Episode 1, I just feel like that's how they're setting it up. And I feel like, in that way especially, some of these plots seem to be a little taken maybe from other plots that I've read, such as Jane Eyre.
Yes.
Does this have a little Jane Eyre feel to you?
Yes. That did for
a big gentleman.
Sure, yes.
A widower.
And I feel like a lot of little things throughout the episode reminded me of other Jane Austen novels or movies. And the funny thing was, I think last season we were all like, this isn't Jane Austen, what is this? And now we're like, Justin Young's like, you want Jane Austen? I'll give you a little bit of every single novel.
Exactly.
All rolled up into one. So, there's a little bit of,
Did you notice, I felt a little bit, at least at the beginning, I think it got a little better as it went on. Should I talk in a British accent or shouldn't I? Have you been talking in yours?
Yes, of course I have.
And I'll do my best.
You can if you like.
I felt like there was a little bit of mumbling. I felt like it was very hard to understand what they were saying.
Yes.
I had to put on the closed caption. I had to turn the volume up to max.
I agree.
And I watch these shows all the time, so I'm used to hearing that British accent. Yes. This is all I watch, and I literally was like leaning into the TV. What did she just say?
I don't know if it was the sound editing or the mixing, or if it really was that they were just mumbling, but...
we were watching with other people, if you all saw our live watch party, and I was having to tell everybody, did you hear what they just said? They said this, because I could understand it, whereas people who aren't as familiar with it.
Well, and we'd seen it once before.
Yes.
And I still caught new things.
Well, no, I hadn't seen it. I'm talking about at our watch party.
Yes, we had already seen Episode 1 on the Zoom
had we?
call.
Oh, so I've seen
How
it
quickly
twice.
she forgets. I've seen it.
dear.
Oh, yes, backwards. I've seen it 3 times already.
Oh, my goodness. Well, this better be good.
Yes.
You should be a pro at this. All right. Now, let us move on. Did you notice, also at the beginning, Hankins sister.
Yes.
Where is the other woman?
It took me a little while to figure this out.
Miss Griffiths, right?
Yes,
she was like
Mrs. Griffiths.
the governess.
She was sort of the governess. She had those two girls.
Yeah.
And then she had Georgiana. She was taking charge of, and she
just
just
nowhere
vanished.
to be seen.
No, nothing was said.
Georgiana was with them.
Why was Georgiana with Hankins if she is now Tom's ward? If Tom is her guardian, she could have gone and lived with Tom and Mary and the children.
Yes.
Why is she living with Reverend Hankins?
Right. I mean, that seems to make sense. Like he would,
and
she would go with her.
Well, and I think Mary
with her family, with Tom and Mary.
Yes. Mary said. Mary mentioned something about her, Miss Hankins has come to sort of help him out, but I don't know.
That was strange. A little
strange.
They just
glossed over where.
And then Tom's sister, she was not even there.
Poor Diana.
Yeah, Diana
nursing her
at home, an old spinster,
nursing her pretend ailments.
Yes, exactly. But Arthur was back with a
in
gusto,
fine form.
and yes, I thought he was amazing. I loved his character. I really did.
Yes, and they have developed him a lot more already.
Yes.
And I think we saw a little glimpse of that last season when we said, he'd make a comment here or there, like when he was walking with Sydney, and he said, well, Sydney, if it were me, if someone had done that to me in the past, I wouldn't be so quick to trust and to forgive.
Right.
And we were like, oh, that's actually really profound coming from Arthur.
Right.
So I think
a lot of people loved him last year.
Yes.
And I think they're going to love him even more.
Yes. Now that he doesn't have his sister to sort of repress him and to keep him down and to make him out to be sick all the time, he's come into his own. And he has taken Sydney's place, sort of as Tom's right-hand man.
Right. And we hear that it's been 3 months since Sydney's death, right?
Yes, when Charlotte arrives.
And Georgiana hasn't been herself, so of course, Charlotte's
Mary.
at the ball, Mary comes in the black, and that's how she finds out, and they invite her.
Yes.
So that's good. And of course, she brings her sister along, right?
Well, and Charlotte she's come to kill, basically, I feel like she's killing 3 birds with 1 stone. She's getting away from a man that she says she does not want to marry.
Well, I thought he was rather handsome.
I agree. I thought he was quite a handsome little chap.
Yes.
A little farm boy. Anyway.
That's the last we'll see. Whatever. What's his name?
I don't remember. So, did they even say his name? I think
they did.
Well, she's
John.
gone
I don't know.
I thought it was something
something you can't remember very easily.
I don't know.
Something very forgettable.
His face was remarkable, I thought. I thought he was handsome. Yes. Oh well, poor guy. He's been thrown over.
Yes.
For Sanditon.
Yes.
So she's escaping him because the father wants her to marry a farmer. She doesn't want him. She's which is I guess is good for her because she's gonna get back to her old friend. She'll be able to see Georgiana.
Yes.
And then she's hoping to
get away from her father also,
get away from her father.
He's trying to care for all of these.
And he doesn't have any
all
money.
All these mouths to feed.
Yes, so she's
one less mouth to feed, right?
Exactly.
Or 2.
Exactly.
He sends a sister also.
Exactly.
And we in fact we see that she brings her sister, right?
Yes.
And when she goes in, she's retracing.
When she first enters the Father house.
Into the house, and that's when we hear the voiceovers. And of course, you
yes,
cried again.
I did cry when I heard Sydney's voice and that somber music from the first season. My heart just broke.
I thought Tom was kind of cold. If any of you noticed, when Charlotte got out of the carriage with her sister, she was like, "This is my sister," and he was like, "Oh."
Hello.
I mean, just kind of mumbled.
Yes.
Now people said, well, even his brother said he's not himself and he's grieving, but he seemed fine when they were walking down Sanditon. He was explaining, pointing out the sights and saying how
Sanditon
lovely
brings out the best in him. It's his will to live, his reason to live.
Yes, right.
Yes.
Well, and I thought it was also hilarious and a little ridiculous how he said, "Well, Tom, Sydney found
happiness with Eliza."
And all of us in the audience are saying, "Boo!"
He did not. Again, some people, there are those who think that Tom knows exactly what he's doing. I'm sorry, he's not that smart.
There
he's
are
dead.
those, I suppose.
What is that from?
I don't know. We'll have to
it's
think
from
about it at the end.
an old
It's from
movie.
some musical.
So, remember when Eliza came back into Sydney's life, he was like, "This is what you've been waiting for your whole life. Your dream's
Tom
true.
is
She's
clueless,
come back."
folks. He
has
been
no idea.
clueless, and he still is.
He
thinks
thought-
that, it was a match made in heaven.
Yes.
They got reunited. He has no
Yes.
idea about him and Charlotte.
No,
But anyway.
he was not happy.
And then, of course, right, we see a new man coming out of the ocean.
Which was very interesting to me that they would make a comparison because we saw Sydney come out of the ocean more times than one, in more ways
I thought
and
it
dressed
was
than
a
one.
strange choice. I didn't care for it.
Nothing against Mr. Lockhart, but
no, but it's
he
just
does
making
not
us think of Sydney.
It's making us think of Sydney, and he's not got the physique that Sydney has,
not
so it's
quite.
not really
No,
quite
it's
a
not
comparison.
Bad, but
No, but he's
just that was Sydney's thing.
Yes, it
Don't
was Sydney's
bring another
thing.
man out of the water.
That's a great way to put it. That was Sydney's thing.
That's right.
Yes,
that
it
was his thing.
Yes.
So anyway,
and then he meets
he meets Charlotte and his
Charlotte
sister,
and
who
his
then
sister.
says that they need new clothes.
Yes, because I think Allison's kind of like, oh, this place is hip, and this guy's really, cool and new, and
Father, better
gotta
send
get
us some money,
new
quick.
clothes. And she says, so that we can find rich husbands.
Yes.
To me, that reminds me of something exactly that Mrs. Bennett would have said.
Yes. Well,
I thought-
we see later. We'll talk about this a little later. But she's basically a Lydia figure in my
Yes.
opinion. She acts just like her. She's constantly throwing Charlotte to some man or the other and saying how they need to marry. And so anyway,
Yes.
but we also find out that they're broke. They're dirt poor.
Yes, she says Father can't
They've
afford
fallen
that.
upon hard times, which
Well,
we'll also talk about later
we'll talk about
because
that
we're
more
going to
later.
see what happens from that.
Yes,
which
but
we kind of
Charlotte
predict.
basically says, we're not here to find husbands, come
Yes.
on. Allison, of course, obviously is.
And did you notice? I missed it the first time round because I was helping my daughter and they mumbled anyway. But did you see when they said that Stringer is doing well?
Yes.
Stringer is in London and he's doing well.
On his way
So,
to becoming a fine architect.
You remember I had asked you before whatever, and I said I hope they're going to at least tie up some of the loose ends for us, like where everybody has gone.
Mhm.
You know, they're going to even mention Stringer or just forget about him completely.
Yes.
So I was glad they mentioned him. The
Stringer
town
missed
was
him.
beautiful. I love
Yes,
that.
it reminded me of like the Disneyland little
Storybook land.
All the little
Yes.
houses were so perfect and
Yes,
beautifully
and
painted.
beautiful colors.
Yes.
It's like Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
And Colonel Lennox then arrives,
Yes,
right?
the militia.
And we have the little bit of a new jaunty music.
Did you notice the men were riding up over the Sanditon hillside?
Mhm.
To me, it looked like that same hilltop that everything always happened in season 1.
Yes.
They came riding up.
Yes.
You know when Sydney came with his 2 men,
Right.
Crow and Babbas,
Right.
and they had that jaunty music.
Right.
They had sort of a new, sort of
Did
jaunty
you notice, though, the red coats? Did you notice in the red coats, the
Yes.
yellow was
neon.
chartreuse?
It was
practically.
garish.
It was too yellow, in my opinion.
It looked
and it
neon.
was not... It just didn't look authentic
No.
to me. It looked like a costume.
It
And
really-
so every time I saw
yes.
it
was
it
so
glared
bright.
out at me like that costume as opposed to there's a real... Normally I don't think about it when I see a
No.
red coat. It's a red coat.
I
But this
thought there was
time-
something off with my TV tint.
No.
Because it was
just-
so bright.
The color was bad.
Yes, it was
Lady
interesting.
D, who of course was my favorite, I feel like, she stole the show.
Oh,
But
yes.
she said, not every soldier is a rascal. I've always had a certain fondness for a red coat.
Again, Mrs. Bennett, reminiscent.
Pride and
I've always had a little
Prejudice.
soft spot for a red
Right,
coat, yes.
And,
And she talks about something about like, hopefully they won't outstay their welcome. And she's like,
Yes.
oh, Aunt, I've only been here for, a week. And so we see Esther's been staying with her, Babbage is out of town,
yes.
and we'll find out more about that
and
later.
we know that we also find out, the whole reason Charlotte came, which I think we mentioned, was to evade the proposal,
Yes.
right? She's here to cheer
Yes.
Georgiana. Well,
She goes to meet Georgiana for the first time at the not the pump room, the assembly rooms,
Yes,
the new assembly
yes.
rooms.
their outfits were I loved the colors. Did everyone notice
Yes.
teal? Lots of teal.
Teal
and
and
I'm
aqua.
assuming that's to make us think of the ocean.
I
right?
think
And
so.
waves
All of
and-
those sea
But
colors.
you mentioned that you thought some of the costumes were ill-fitting.
Well,
Like they needed a
Two
new
thi-
tailor.
2 things I shall say. Me and my nightgown.
Yeah.
I'm a fine one to top. But,
Well,
number one,
We
Charlotte.
are on a budget, dear.
Yes, that's right. We don't have funding from Masterpiece.
No.
Not yet. So Charlotte walked in to the assembly rooms and I thought, what looks funny about her? Something's off. And then as she walked forward, I realized there were no gathers, gathers
Extra
in her
fabric
material,
at
extra
the back
material
of the dress.
at the back of her dress or sort of along the front and the sides. Like
So
her sister
straight.
had. It was very
Yeah.
form-fitting almost. I thought,
Yes.
why does her dress
Yes.
just look so straight and form-fitting? So I don't know if they were running out of material on that one or what.
But then they had other costumes, like Mary wore a
Yes.
little green jacket.
It
it was a little too large.
Yes, her jacket, she looked a little bit like a football player. It was so
Yes.
boxy.
Yeah.
Some of those velvet coats, they had many velvet coats.
Yes,
which
but
was
I
nice,
did. I
but-
loved. For the
Charlotte's-
most part, I loved the costumes.
Yes, and Charlotte's coat, her little velvet one that was sort of
Yes.
a rusty color,
Yes.
had these little like black button sort of details, and that was
That
really
was
pretty.
lovely.
And it fitted
Georgiana
her
had
very
a
well.
turquoise one that had
That one was beautiful with the
leaves
big
kind of
yes.
running down.
That reminded me
That
of
was
Orla
beautiful.
Keeley.
Yes, it
That
did.
was beautiful.
But I forgot to mention, I also loved when the two friends saw each other for the first time.
Yes.
Because remember, they had
It was a
seen each other.
joyous
So
reunion.
that was lovely, I think,
Yes.
for them to be together again.
Yes.
But then there was a part where the 3 ladies walked together through the camp of the
Yes.
soldiers. And
Well, wait a minute. While we're on the topic of costumes, what about Charlotte's hair?
oh dear.
May we mention
I
this
forgot to-
without being
The
crucified?
elephant in the room, dear. I have
Listen.
it written in huge caps. Hair.
Yes, now listen. Her hair in the first season, we understood, was done on purpose. It was down much of the time.
Which we said
I had
was
no
not
problem with.
Regency authentic. It was
No.
anachronistic, but that's all right. We
they
went
wanted
with
it to be different.
seashore
They wanted,
feel.
yes,
She's
and
a
wanted
free
her
spirit.
to be independent and not conforming to society in those sort of ways. And she did put it up when she had the ball, and it was like,
Yes.
oh, she looked beautiful.
Yes.
But none of them were, out of. None of them looked too out of place.
Right.
She didn't look. like
but
a
this time
wild
they missed
woman.
the mark, in my opinion.
It looked like she just rolled out of bed and her
she
hair
looked
was
like,
all
you
over the
know,
place.
Yes, like literally she had gotten out of the shower
And it just
let
messed
it
up.
air dry and it
Yes.
kind of just went, kind
Like
of
she
how
had-
your hair looks when you get out of the shower, Dan.
Yes, like a drowned rat.
Show us, come on, give us a
All right,
demonstration.
this is how she looked. Okay, let me see if I can use this as a mirror. Okay, so she had basically, like it had just kind of fallen out.
Oh, but no, it was the whole thing. There was one part where the whole thing was
Yes,
covering
like
the whole
that.
face. It was like, what is it, the peekaboo bang from,
Yes.
back in the, it was just, I felt like going, hello dear, here, push that back a little bit.
Some say it was because she was in mourning, but
Well, yes, she was in mourning, but she was also
she
enough to go
also
to Sanditon.
she also said she wasn't in mourning because he had a widow and that was not her place.
Right.
So I don't know if that really gels.
I still think
And
that
she went to
she
the
got up
seaside
and she put on
resort.
her outfit, she would have tucked a little
Look,
piece back.
let me remind you. Here, let me all my secrets are loose.
Yes.
There we are. All right, now let me tell you how easy it is. All right, just everyone watch. One piece on either side. Take a little bobby pin or a clip. It only takes 2 seconds. I really don't, I'm not spending a lot of time. There, it's done.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, it doesn't
She
take
always
much
looks beautiful.
effort.
She always looks beautiful no matter what. But
Of course,
for me,
she's
it was
a
just a
beautiful
little too much. It was, I noticed it in the first season, and I thought, it's not
Yes.
Regency, but if
At-
you've
at
ever watched any
times.
of Period and some of the old BBC Regency
Yes.
dramas, every woman has her hair up.
Yes.
Except for maybe Sense and Sensibility, the one with Emma Thompson.
The 12-year-old.
The little girl
Yes.
has hers down, but
Yes.
once they reach a certain age, it went up. So
Yes.
there we have it.
It was a little bit
We'll
much.
move on from the hair, but that was my
All right.
pet peeve. Now, back to what I was saying. The ladies
Sorry.
walking through the army camp.
Why?
What did you think of that?
Where did they come from, and where were they going, and why did they just romp through a?
Yes.
I just
did
think
they just happen to stumble upon it, or was it like,
I don't
let's
know.
just take this route where we're
And
going
I-
to see some officers?
And I did think it was funny how one of the guys came out and was like, "Oh, we need to tighten our security." Well,
You don't
yes,
say.
I guess so.
Yes.
I just wasn't quite sure what was happening. And then the
Yes.
colonel comes out in a complete state of undress.
What? No.
No shirt on. Do you recall last season when Charlotte saw Sydney with no shirt? She was like, "Oh," she
Yes.
turned away. Right? I mean, there
Well,
were.
of course, she saw him with a little more than no
Well,
shirt.
yes, but how could we forget?
Yes.
However,
I don't
it
think.
wasn't when the men were bathing. They went to the opposite side of the beach.
Good point.
You didn't just walk around show.
Yeah,
That's
let me just
considered
walk around with the
nudity.
shirt off all the
That's-
time.
yes, that's
It's not like nowadays where men,
No.
go to the beach and they all walk around without the shirt. So
Yes.
I thought that was a little
That was
strange.
strange. Why would he
And
come out?
I felt like they, it just was a little too juvenile. Even, now I could see Charlotte's sister
Like-
want to do that,
like-
but maybe not Charlotte. I
Like
could
all
see
of
her
a
doing that.
sudden, I was reminded of myself in high school when I wanted to. Oh, let's walk by those guys. They're cute. Let's see if they'll look at us. Or
Yeah,
say something to us."
exactly.
That's what I felt like they were
It's a
doing the
little
whole
desperate. It's a
episode.
little desperate, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Well, then we also hear that Esther sadly has lost a child, which was
Yes.
really sad.
Yes.
And here we find out more about the timeline.
Yes,
which you can
I
explain.
think she said it had been 8.5 months since they'd been married.
Yes.
So we saw the wedding. Charlotte and Sydney were still in Sanditon. They had Sydney had not had a wedding yet. They were preparing. And so then, if he'd been dead 3 months, that leaves about five months.
Math
and a
is
half
my
months.
worst subject, dear. I don't know. You can do the adding, yes.
Leaves about 5 months in between where they finished planning their wedding and then got married.
So
and
is
then,
that a
and then he
consolation
left,
to us?
and then he left and went to Antigua and got sick and died.
yes.
So
we only had 5 months with her. Thank
not
God.
even. No, I'm
Maybe
I'm
it
guessing
wasn't even enough time
3
to consummate the marriage.
I'm, I'm guessing
of course
maybe
it was, but
maybe 3 or 4 months. Look, they weren't together very long, which makes me feel better somehow. I don't know why.
somehow it makes me feel
Makes
better.
me
too.
feel better.
I don't know why. But Lady D says about, I survived
Oh.
because she says, let's
She
call it
said-
Mr. Fuchs.
Yes, she says I've come for the
Lady
the,
D
the
says it a
health
little
of
differently.
the beach. Yes, and she says perhaps Dr. Fuchs, like Dr. Fuchs. I survived despite him.
Yes.
He's nuts.
Right, and she says that the milk from her asses again will restore. So she still got the
I
asses.
thought that was
And
hilarious.
she thinks that will restore her to perfect health, right?
Mhm. And Dr.
So-
Fuchs was really nice in this episode. I felt he was
Yes.
really kind and sympathetic
Yes.
and like calming to Esther. Instead of, he kind of was like this crazy bumbling nut sort of
Yes.
before. He was really kind
Yeah.
and gracious to her.
It was nice having him back, I
Yes.
guess. And then Allison, of course, we come and we see her, and she asks for advice on how to catch a husband.
Yes.
Once again, right?
Yes.
And I
This
like
is when
where
they're sitting outside
yes.
at the little pavilion
and
waiting for the
we
parade.
see a little of Esther,
Yes.
right, and how she fell for Babington and says,
And she goes, "Do you have any advice?" What does she say? Just say his every word. If he persists, marry him.
That was
So
really
really,
and
really
very in
cute.
line with Esther, very in line with their
Mhm.
whole story. So I loved that
Mhm.
as like a continuation of them. I thought
Yes.
that was great.
Yes, that was funny.
And of course, we don't know what will happen in the future, so
Yes.
I like that. That
Yes.
part's not predictable.
Of
We
course.
don't know, is she going to be able to conceive?
No.
Is something
No, we
going to
don't
happen
know.
with Edward?
Oh,
I don't know.
no.
I'll have
Well,
thoughts about that.
And then
but-
carrying on that conversation, I thought Lady D again on point.
Yes.
Oh, Miss Hayward, I thought we'd seen the last of you.
And you're not married yet, you'd be a social pariah.
Yes,
I
and
thought that
Charlotte
was great.
talks about, well, not everyone has to marry right away, and she's like, nonsense. What does she say? No one
chooses to be a spinster, worthless pariah who brings shame on her family. Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's what pretty much everyone has drummed into every young woman.
Yes.
Every older woman has drummed into every younger woman in the Regency time period, basically.
You must get married. And without a good husband, then you're nothing.
Speaking of marriage.
I loved this. I thought, yes, please say yes.
Georgiana
basically, tells Arthur, why don't you marry me? I like you.
I honestly think they would be a fine pair because they really get along. They respect each other. She doesn't think she's going to find anyone that's going to love her because everyone, she's plagued with men just trying to get her
Right,
fortune.
but and I understand, we know he's gay, but, back then, you weren't allowed to just live the way you wanted anyway.
So.
You kind of have to put up the front,
So at least
you
they
even
can be
see that in
pals.
the popular show right now, The Gilded Age, right?
Right.
Where the guy,
Yes.
says, I have to get married,
Right.
and then I, get somebody who's compliant and easy, and I
who
can
could be a friend and
have the best of both worlds, so to speak. So,
greedy.
yes,
Right.
Arthur, though, right? She says he treats her with kindness and good humor. And I love this part. They bring the tray of sweets.
Okay, when they brought the tray of sweets, the first time through, I think it was because Georgiana sort of mumbled through her spiel about we're boycotting sugar because we're trying to...
I never did hear that.
You never heard it?
No, I thought he said he was on a diet.
Yeah, well, the first time she was having tea with Charlotte, she said we're boycotting sugar to try to get rid of the slavery over in Antigua still. Right. So, and that was kind of a big deal, but for some reason I couldn't really understand what she said, and then I kind of had to piece things together. Oh, she's doing a boycott.
Yes.
So then she says, oh no, Arthur. He says,
yeah,
I don't suppose you would turn a blind eye. He's like, you would never forgive yourself. And I thought he was on a diet.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But
like,
no,
you won't forgive yourself for eating.
It hit me. Like, after the second time I saw it, no, he wasn't on a diet. He was boycotting the sugar.
Exactly.
So there we go. That was a cute little bit.
Yes,
although that cupcake looked really good.
Yes. And then, did you notice something else? About the costumes. I should have said this before when I was talking about costumes, but Lockhart's pants. So all the men are wearing floods, and I guess that was.
It looked so funny.
It just looked so funny. I mean, it was period, but it looked so funny.
Tom had short pants in the first season, a little bit, but
Tom is so tall and lanky anyway that with those short floods on, he looked like Mr. Peanut. Santa's Peanut. One of our followers mentioned that, and I said she hit the nail right on the head.
Yes,
he really did.
He does look like Mr.
But
Peanut.
he confesses, right, that
to Georgiana.
Yes,
that he noticed her.
Yes. Lockhart.
Yes, Lockhart.
Later he
the
tells
bohemian
her,
artist.
And she's intrigued by him because he's kind of that I don't care.
Devil may care. Yeah, he doesn't care what anybody thinks of him.
So he's not falling all over her like every other man.
He sort of pays her a compliment. He's like, you looked really, intriguing and this and that. And she's like, oh, well, I thought you looked affected and this and that. And she insults him and he goes, yes, I am all those things.
Yes,
I was like, oh,
great.
He'll give her a run for her money.
I like him.
Yes,
I like
him too.
All right, and so then we have the militia parade.
Yes.
And we see Edward, and were you shocked? I was shocked. Oh, there he is, right? And we have this strange scene where Charlotte rescues the child. Now, for me, that scene just didn't work. It looked too fake. It just didn't work for me. If you contrast that with the carrot scene in season 1 when they fall out of the carriage.
In the very opening scene when Tom and Mary
it was believable.
crashed,
but this was the slow-mo, and how did she see him? She was behind a bunch of people. How did she, the little girl
she was sitting down behind the crowd, and then somehow she took off running before it even happened. Yeah, she had to run over there.
Strange.
How did it happen?
Well, anyway, that's how we're introduced to Colborne. Charlotte brings the girls home, right?
Yes, takes
and
care of
Tom
them.
talks about him and says he's a recluse, and I don't like him because he doesn't want to give me money. And
they don't like him at all.
But there is a bit of mystery there, which I liked about his wife. He says something. He mentions something
the details
about
of her
how
death
she
would
died,
never,
or how society viewed her, or something. So I think that maybe later we'll hear more about that.
Yes, I believe so. There's something to cover.
Let's talk about Allison. A little bit. Where she talks about her sister's many fine qualities. She's constantly trying to, shove Charlotte off on someone. Now,
again,
she's the one that knows the most, it seems, about Charlotte's lost love.
Yes. Well, Charlotte had written her letters about everything, and she had written that one saying, "Oh, any day now, I'm going to have some big news." I'm sure she shared.
She's trying to tell her to get over it, basically. But it's funny because when the colonel comes to tea, he says something to her which was so forward. I mean, what was it that he said about? Did you find finding love? Everyone falls in love when they come.
When
to
they first set foot in
Did you find that the case?
Yes, and of course we all thought of back to Sydney again. Yes,
and
she
once
did.
Again, we're thinking of
but it was really awkward for her because the sister kept trying to throw them together, really forward. I felt like they were very forward, too forward for me, for my taste. The Colonel and little Allison, who reminded me sadly, quite a lot like Lydia.
Yeah, she was just like
Just
her,
not
just
really
like
have
her.
any
But I mean,
clue.
he's definitely made his intentions known. I mean,
Yes.
he wants her.
Yes,
He's very forward, right?
And makes Charlotte uncomfortable. She rushes out.
Yeah, she rushes out.
And she slams the door.
But of course, he says he likes her even better now.
Yeah,
So
yes.
and then I love the scene where when Charlotte leaves, she goes to the church and she lights a candle for Sydney, which was beautiful.
It brought me to tears again.
Arthur
It was a
said he
very
does.
special, melancholy moment, and we heard a voiceover again of him saying, "I'm my best,
So it helped
my
you to
truest
grieve
self,
a little bit.
the best speech."
Yeah.
It was so
Just
sad.
every time you heard his voice, it was heartbreaking. And a lot of people said that they wanted to see more, maybe even, that they didn't get enough chance to mourn him. But of course, we can't take up too much time with that, I suppose, because we have
There's
to.
only 6 episodes.
We have to get over it.
Yes.
We all must get over it, unfortunately.
Well, and don't forget, she's had 3 months to mourn, or she's had a while to mourn. Because Mary went to her.
Right.
Mary was in black.
That's not a lot when you're in love.
No, but I'm saying she's had a little bit of time. She's in the process.
Right. I mean, it was hard enough that she lost him, but then to find out that he died.
Yes.
Very
Very sad.
very hard blows.
Very sad.
And of course, Edward, right?
Yes, he goes.
He
goes and
we've already seen him
pays
now
his
in the parade, so we're
respects.
like, oh, look who's back.
Pays his
He
respects
goes
to
to
his
the
aunt.
house, right, and
Mhm.
says he's turned up a new leaf.
Oh, please.
She almost seems like she's inclined to believe him.
Well,
she says something
no.
well, she says something
That's
like,
true. She does
I
something
think
to
maybe
Esther.
he's, changed.
She didn't
changed
act
the
like
tune.
she didn't act like she was. She threw him out. She was like be off with you, and then
that was great.
She takes that
She
spoon.
grabbed the sugar and dumped it all in her
That
tea.
was hilarious,
Yes.
just like her.
To hell with the sugar boy.
Oh dear, can we
I
say
thought-
that?
Oh yes,
Oh
we
gosh,
can.
yes, no, understood.
I thought that was great. I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
Where are we? I've lost my place now,
Well,
dear.
so Edward.
Oh yes, Edward goes to Esther and says, "Oh, I know there's part of you that missed
Haven't
me.
you missed me? Yes.
I think there's going to be foul play to come. I predict.
He's going to try to do something.
He's going to try to do something, and I don't know if she'll give in.
No,
or not.
she will not give in. I don't think so. She loves Babbage.
We
Did
shall
you see
see.
her writing that letter?
We
All
shall
this
see.
happening, but I think only of you.
Yes,
of course, she didn't mention.
I've
She
decided
didn't.
to stand. Didn't mention.
And she didn't mention
was
Edward in
there.
the letter.
I don't know. We
I don't
shall
know.
see.
We'll see.
And another person that is still thinking about the past, not only Charlotte, but we have Georgiana. We've noticed that she's still
Yes.
looking at Otis's picture.
I thought that was interesting.
Now, do you think he's going to come back?
I wonder.
I don't
know.
But Charlotte has now come to the conclusion that she's never going to put herself under another man's power. She's not getting married, which of course we know is going to go right out the window,
Well,
because
and
she will get married to one of these gentlemen.
Yes, we see they've already set up. Well, of course, they set up something with her and Sydney the first season too. They're not going to do it to us again. They couldn't.
Maybe.
My heart couldn't take a second breakup. No.
But wasn't it interesting how she said she's never going to put
I was just gonna say
herself in someone's power?
I will never put myself in a man's power, which is exactly the same words verbatim what Sydney had said to her
Yeah.
at the balcony at the ball when he was about to propose.
So what did you think about that? Why did she feel like she was under man's power? He said he was under her power.
Yes.
I mean, because she had been heartbroken, because he went and married someone else, I guess. I'm assuming that's what she means. So that
I mean, I understand.
She's heartbroken right now.
I understand, and this was her first
Yes,
love and her true love. I believe it was her true love.
But of course, everyone tells her, "Well, dear, you don't really have a choice.
No.
We're broke,
No.
and
Well,
your
speaking
job
of-
is to marry."
Speaking of mourning Sydney, don't forget, I wanted to mention this, how Mary said, you can mourn him,
Yes.
Because Mary really is the only
other one
at Sanditon,
besides
I
his-
think,
yes.
that really knows.
Yes.
And she goes, no, I can't. He has a widow. It's
Yes.
not my place.
And
I thought
so-
that was...
Charlotte ends up deciding to become a governess.
Yeah.
Let's stop the presses right here. What did we say, ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen, in one of our...
We said it.
We called this one too.
Yes,
We
in one of
said
our videos, we said the only reason for her to be a governess would be if...
a last resort
would be
was
a
the
last
word we used.
Yes. And then Mary used that same exact term. This is a last resort. Like, why would you do this to your family and Allison said, you're going to be disgraced on our family.
Yes. Because
It
that's
was a
what
last
it was.
resort.
You did not go to be a governess unless you absolutely had to.
No.
So that is just
And she's saying she'll never
heartbreaking for
marry,
all of them.
and father can't
Mhm.
support her, so she'll go be governess because Colburn's maid had mentioned
Yes.
the girls need a governess.
Well, so she
So,
goes back
the
to
very next
Colburn's
day,
house
yes,
where she
whenever.
dropped off the girls.
She goes, and her hair is tidied up for her job interview, at least.
Oh, well.
At the very least.
At least she decided to do that, which
Yes.
is good. But I
Yes.
thought I loved this scene. I loved this scene because you could see a little bit of the sparring.
Yes,
Back and
playfulness
forth.
when he started quizzing her. What's
Mhm.
5 times 7 or whatever? 5
Yes.
sevens. And what's the capital of whatever? Can you
Right.
speak French? It
It
was
gave
cute.
a little bit of a hint there, like something may happen there, which I think it will. I think he's going to be her
You
man.
can tell he's
but-
intelligent, and she's intelligent.
and
I
he'll
think they'll
respect
match.
her for her intelligence, which
Yes.
is good. Of course, we'll leave the old colonel heartbroken, but I'm sure he'll find someone else to
Oh,
take her place.
Yes, I can tell he's a
And
he's
he
a
says,
ladies' man. He'll go find
yes,
someone.
and, well,
I think.
that's where he tells, Colburn tells her that, you know, society asks that a woman be accomplished and not learned, and she says, society is wrong, sir, which I love.
Yes.
And of course, like I said, I think he's going to come to love her for
Yes,
that.
yes.
And
she's saying she's going to teach the girls
right.
that,
And
not
she
just
storms out
embroidery.
thinking, well, there goes that job interview, you know, and so, and the dog comes after her.
Yes, which everyone says,
again.
Pride and Prejudice, when Lizzie is petting the little dog.
The dog likes her, that's a sign.
Yes, he left the master's side and went to her.
That's a sign of things to
Turncoat.
come.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
And so I really liked how the end, you know, how it ended with him riding up on the horse.
I thought that was exactly
on the
like
cliff.
Sydney had done.
Yes.
Riding up, meeting at the cliff, sort of leaving her speechless, and she was just kind of like,
yes.
oh, you know, it was very reminiscent.
What-
Sydney's been replaced.
I'd be curious to hear all of your thoughts on, did you like the episode? Are you excited for the season? What do you think about her male suitors? Can you already tell what's going to happen? Are you happy with her male suitors? Are you happy with them? I can't, it's hard for me to be too happy because I miss Sydney.
The
And
bar
I
was
know there
set
are
very...
lots of naysayers out there who hate Sydney and say they never liked him in the first place, but I adore him.
I agree. The bar was set very high with both Sydney and Stringer.
Yes.
Both of them were quite agreeable chaps, and, well, Sydney became agreeable. He became a sweetheart. And Stringer was a sweetheart. They were both extremely attractive. These men...
Well,
right.
they're not in the same
They're
league
not
as
quite
Sydney,
in the
but
same
after we
category.
get to know them,
Sydney
I think that...
Stringer.
Yes,
See, he was
well,
Stringer
was a close second.
Stringer's pretty handsome.
Yes, but maybe as we get to know them more, we will fall for them, as she will.
Yes.
Did you also notice towards the end there, that's when they got the letter, which is going to be important, I think, about Georgiana.
Why?
I'm assuming, we're all assuming that it says that she doesn't have a fortune
That's
anymore.
what I think, yes.
And maybe we'll even explain why Sydney was there a little more, so.
Yes.
So there you have it. That is our
Season
review.
2, episode 1.
Season 1 of episode 2.
Wait, season 1 of
Season
episode
2. Sorry.
Wait a minute.
Dear. It's
Wait.
the migraine day.
Episode-
I told you I'm on 4 pills and 2
I
Benadryls.
know.
I
I'm
can
so
barely keep
sorry.
my head up here.
I know, I'm so sorry.
Season 2,
Episode 1.
episode 1.
Yes, season 2, episode
episode
1.
1.
And we hope you'll all follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and subscribe to our channel and like it and comment and let us know what you think about the new season. We're excited to see where it all leads.
Where it all leads, yes. And go on our Instagram page. In fact, we had a watch party
Yes.
before episode 1
We had a lot of
aired,
fun.
and it's a lot of fun. And we debuted our Sanditon rap on there.
Oh yes, I almost forgot about the
which
Sanditon
you will
rap.
have to catch. It's a load of fun. Yes. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed it, and we'll all see you soon.
Thank you for
Goodbye
watching.
from the sisters. Good evening, and welcome to the light.
To the lantern? What are you about to
To
say?
the lantern show. I don't know what I was. Get rid of it.
Welcome to
I'm gonna play the music.
Yes, I'm getting there. If you don't give me a moment, I can't do it everything at once.
Sorry.
I think I am. All right. Yes, I can't remember what I'm supposed to say.
We're supposed to talk about me. You cut. Oh, I can't even speak.
All right.
Where's the filter on this thing, dear?
Unfortunately, there is none. It's not Instagram. I know. She'll have to do with the shadows and the yellow tint and the evening glow.
This is awful. Try to sparkle a little, dear. A little. A little.
For those of you who've seen the old Pride and Prejudice,
Now,
let us now let us
it's been a
remember.
long night.
Now,
Spit it out, dear.
Don't forget. Everybody has their limit. No, now don't forget. Do not try not to cut. Let me try it again.
Look.
Don't forget. Try not to cut each other off. When
Yes,
you speak,
sometimes-
I'll be quiet, and when I speak, you be quiet. Let me
You're
finish.
doing it again. Sometimes I have to cut you off because you ramble on so.
You interrupted my sentence. You've got a fan. Hit me under the table if needs must.
All right.
You're good at it.
Be prepared to get
No.
the boot.
Yes.
All right, let's get this show on the road.